All right. Hey, Vicky. I'm glad that you're here. I'm just trying to figure out this live stream thing. So this is a first go at trying to do this. I wanted to the last time it wasn't actually a live stream. I did a video of someone asked a question about the Sabbath and wanting to answer someone who their friend who thinks that you should only worship on the Sabbath. So I did a video about that. But today I wanted to try to do a live stream so that if there are more questions that anyone wants to ask, we can go ahead and just have a live discussion. And I love to talk theology, not because theology conversations can be very annoying. And there are certain types of theology conversations that I want nothing to do with, because they kind of go in circles, and it's arguing, saying I have the right collection of truths, and today I wanted to discuss why that's so important to us. Why do people get so worked up about theology issues? And so I wanted to go back to the question about the Sabbath. I did a video about what I believed, the way the Sabbath works in the Bible, why we don't necessarily observe Saturday as a Sabbath. At least the majority of the Protestant church and the Catholic church as well does not worship on Saturday but on Sunday. How did that happen? I did a video on it. And I'm not sure how many people watched the video, but there are a number of people who responded with basically their views about the Sabbath. Some people responded, it's hard to tell through texting, but it seems like it was somewhat angry, and kind of saying, Sabbath is the Saturday, and that's the day you're supposed to worship. And then others responded saying it doesn't matter, we're supposed to worship every day. And so I wanted to talk about why we get so polarized over this question. And it does actually have to do with seeing God as our Father. So, like a lot of things, when many biblical questions are solved by realizing that our big picture issues are not clear. By big picture issues, I mean, what is the overall story of the Bible? What is it saying? What is the point? A lot of us see the Bible as a collection of rules, a collection of stories. Not stories. We see it as a collection of rules. There's the Old Testament rules, and then there's the New Testament rules, which are, of course, much more lenient. And there's grace in the New Testament, and so we're like, yes, let's stick there. But other people know, rules matter, and Jesus said, "I didn't come to abolish the law, but to fulfill it." So, aren't there rules that we're still supposed to follow? And we just see the Bible as being like there are old rules and then there's new rules, and how do they relate and which ones do we follow? And the Bible is not a story about, or it's not a book about rules to follow, either to get into heaven or to find favor with God. The story, it is a story. It's going somewhere. It starts with a creation project. It starts with God creating this project and commissioning the human race to play a very vital role in that project, which is being His image bearers. And then we encounter, as we read the Bible story, all the problems with human beings being the image bearers of God. And so it's a story that's going somewhere. It climaxes in Jesus. And then we are on this side of the resurrection. We are in a new stage of the story. And that was kind of the emphasis that I was trying to bring across in that first video about the Sabbath, is just that we're living in a story. And the reason we don't worship most of us don't worship on Saturday is because the way what the Sabbath was supposed to represent was a mark in time. And because Jesus has brought us into a new time, the new age, the resurrection age, the Sabbath has in a way been upstaged by the resurrection. Jesus has brought us into the Sabbath rest. But the reason this is whether you agree with me or not, the reason this is important is because it really has to do with what kind of dad is God the Father. For some of us, we grew up in legalistic homes where dad was all about rules, and if you didn't keep the rules, you didn't get his love. And then others of us grew up in, maybe there was no dad, or there's no discipline, or whatever. And so we actually like rules. We like something that like grounds us. And so we're caught, like, what kind of God is this? Is he a God that is just full of grace, which means that, anything goes. Once you're in, you're in, and rules are just, they're suggestions. It's better to be good, but if you're not, at least there's grace. And then other people are saying, no, obviously we can't have that. We have to have clear rules in order for us to know how to function. And so is God a legalistic, exacting, demanding father, demanding that we follow particular rules about what foods we eat and what days we work? Or is God just kind of like hands off and like, I just love you guys, do whatever you want, and that's great? And like I said, the answer is something completely different. It's a third choice, and in a way, it's not a choice at all. God is who He is. Our perspectives are the only thing that changes. And the Bible is, like I mentioned, it's a meta narrative. It's a big story. And the reason I brought up this subject, or I engaged with this question about the Sabbath, is because we need to see Jesus as He really is. We need to see God the Father as He really is, and not. And I think both of these images that we have, either of a gracie God with hands off, not really concerned about our behavior, or a God who's kind of demanding and legalistic, neither one of those is Jesus. Why does Jesus heal on the Sabbath? The reason is because Jesus was announcing that the kingdom of God is on earth as it is in heaven, in and through Him. He was saying, He healed deliberately on the Sabbath, because what He was saying is that He told the Pharisees, it says that my Father is working until now, and even so I myself am working. The whole point was that He was saying that God is doing a new thing in time. So I mentioned a minute ago, the Sabbath is a marker in time. And the reason you would observe the Sabbath is because God created the world, and it was going somewhere. And ultimately, that place it was headed was a place of rest. When John Walton describes Genesis 1 and 2 in this way, saying that God created in 6 days. In the ancient Near Eastern culture, if you told the story of something being created in 6 days, everyone would know you're talking about a cosmic temple. It's sacred time, sacred space. And so God created this world in 6 days, and on the seventh day He moved in. He took up residence in it and enjoyed it. He enjoyed the creation that He had made. The creation story is going toward this day of rest. Jesus announced that day is here and now in His work. When He said when Lazarus died and Martha was weeping, He said to her, your Lazarus will rise again. Your brother will rise again. She said, I know he will on the last day. And Jesus said, I am the resurrection and the life. In other words, that last day is happening right here. We think of the last day as being the last day on planet Earth. I don't think that's correct. He's talking about the last day of this, of the world without its proper ruler. Jesus is the proper ruler of the earth, and He came to claim that lordship over the earth. And when He is Lord, death itself is eliminated. And so He was bringing the real Sabbath into reality in His own work. And ultimately, in the resurrection, God vindicated Him as saying, yes, exactly. That's exactly it. Jesus is right. He is my right-hand man. I and the Father are one, Jesus said. God put his stamp of approval on that. And so we are here at the Sunday became the day of celebration, the day that the church observed the Lord's Supper, because it was through the life of Jesus that they were getting, that we get our life and strength to live for him through the rest of the week. Sunday is the first day of the week. Jesus rose from the dead on the first day of the week. So when we begin to understand the Bible in this meta-narrative, this big story way, it just takes those questions about, well, do we follow the rules or do we not? It's like those are the wrong questions. What God is concerned about is, rules matter. Rules are helpful, but they're not. Rules don't give life. Rules are kind of guardrails to keep us from going crazy. But the point is to become a particular type of person, someone who is in agreement with God, with what he wants. Which is why Jesus, when he was challenged about the Sabbath, he pointed to what's happening. Look what's happening. You're saying I'm breaking the Sabbath, but I'm making men well on the Sabbath. I'm healing them. You have a rule in your own law that says that if an ox falls into a hole on the Sabbath, you're allowed to go and take him out. It's not a Sabbath value to let your ox die in the ditch. And he said, how much more is it appropriate for me to give life, to heal on the Sabbath? And so he was establishing that, a new day has dawned. God's new creation has come into the present as the prophets had always anticipated it would. And so what does God want from us from the Sabbath now? We are not trying to mark time anymore. We're not saying, we're not trying to anticipate this day. Well, in a way we are. We are still anticipating a day of rest. The kingdom has come, and it is coming. But the Sabbath observance, Jesus had brought it, brought the whole story to a new stage where it's become a reality, rather than simply something that we're looking forward to. And so it just got upstaged by the resurrection. There's no point in staring at the signpost when the reality is here. So we are to work and to play out of rest. That's how my dad used to pray all the time when we prayed as a family. I often remember him praying, saying, God, help us to work and play out of rest. We rest in the finished work of Christ, that the new creation has already begun. Death has already been defeated. It's not going to be. It's not going to win. It can't win. It's already lost. So we're already celebrating in that. We're already resting in that. I think the Sabbath principle still applies in that, we need to physically demonstrate our faith that God is our provider, that he is sovereign over all things, that Jesus is Lord. When we rest, when we trust in him in that way, we are expressing our faith in our trust in him. We're resting in him. We are practicing Sabbath. Does that have to be on a particular day? It seems that the early church it just kind of disappeared with the temple. I'm no expert on that, but that's how it appears to me, that when the early church did not see itself as being non-Jewish. They saw themselves as being completely Jewish, and they still worshipped at the synagogues until they got kicked out of them. And then when Rome came and burned down the temple, Jesus had prophesied that would happen. And it was a way of saying, and Hebrews refers to this as like the old things, while they're still standing, it's hard to let go of them. But once they have been burned down, it's like, okay, I guess God is doing a new thing. The church is the temple, and we are in the Sabbath rest when we are in Jesus. If you never rest in your life, I've struggled with rest through throughout my life. I love to work, and part of that's completely fine. Another part of it is not fine because I find my value in work. And if I'm not working, sometimes I feel like God's not happy with me, or especially when I'm walking by faith, when we're traveling across the country, I'm like, what if I don't work enough, and then God doesn't provide because I wasn't good enough, and that is a lack of faith. It's a lack of rest. It's a lack of trust, and I'm called to trust Him. So that has been a challenge for me, and I've made great progress in that, but I still struggle. I still struggle with it. And whenever one of the scriptures that really has helped me and challenged me a lot over the years is Psalm 37. I think it's Psalm 37:8 or 18. Do not fret, it leads only to evil doing. And when I was meditating on that, I realized, pretty much every sin in my life has been due to fretting. When I get mad at my wife, when I get mad at my kids, when I'm stingy, all those things, when I lack faith, it's because I'm worried. I'm fretting about something. And fretting means I don't trust in the love of God enough. It means that I don't believe that God will provide for me. All those are Sabbath issues. They all say things, when I'm worrying and fretting and losing my temper because I feel like things are out of control, and no one's going to take care of me. All those things are signs that I don't believe in Jesus, in that moment. I do, of course, I always believe in Jesus in my head, but what I'm saying by my actions is that Jesus doesn't know what's going on. He's going to fail me. He's not going to take care of me. And when I'm doing those things, I'm not observing the Sabbath as I'm called to. So I don't know. I don't know if that if that is helpful to any of you. I'm sure not. I'm sure there's a lot of people that will disagree with my take on how the Sabbath works. Which this is not any real thorough presentation, just kind of going more or less off the cuff. But it is really important that we ask ourselves, why do these things matter so much to us? Why do we get upset at the issue of other people's opinions on Sabbath or another issue? Why do we get angry about those things? Because anger is not a fruit of the Spirit. And I think when we start analyzing, why does this issue matter so much to me? Like if I was Seventh-day Adventist, and I believe that you must worship on the Sabbath, and someone like a Carl Gessler on the Faith of the Fathers who's saying, no, it doesn't matter. Why would that get me upset? It would get me upset because I've always been told that this is the most important thing, or that this defines being a true Christian, or that people who flaunt, who ignore the rules of the Bible are liberals, and they bring in all sorts of ungodly things with them. These are the kind of things that would make me upset, and I have gotten upset, not over Sabbath because I wasn't raised that way, but over other issues, women preaching in the church. I mean, there's going to be another hot issue button, and one that I've had very passionate views on at times in my life, and then it's been tempered by other things. But at the end of the day, we have to analyze why. Why am I getting mad? Because in that question, we're going to find out stuff that we believe about God. And sometimes, and many times, when we're angry, we find that those things we believe about God are not actually accurate. And when we can replace those lies about who the Father is, we all of a sudden find peace, and we find a safe space to be able to engage these questions without being angry by them. Angry theology conversations are not fun ones. So I want to thank you guys for participating. I know there's several of you listening. Does anybody have a question or some feedback on this live stream, or maybe a question or theme that you would like addressed in the future. We're going to be crossing the country, and I may do some live updates of our trip this way. We plan on vlogging as we go, but I want to know how I can serve this community on Telegram. And so any feedback you can offer, any what do you want? That would be great. For those of you who are listening via the podcast, you can always write in through the website too with any questions or suggestions you might have. So thank you for joining me, the few of you that joined me this morning. And I have a very busy schedule, so I'd like to do these on a regular basis, but I haven't figured out when I can do that yet. So anyway, hope you guys have a blessed day. And I look forward to seeing you here on the channel and on the podcast again soon. God bless.